Rode microphones are the official microphones of BeTerrific. Find out more at rodemic.com.
Welcome to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm really excited today. We've got Gregory here. We've got me. All sorts of great stuff going on. And is my microphone on, Greg? It is? Wow. Doesn't sound like it is. Or I'm deaf. I don't know. I could be deaf. I'm playing with my box here. Here we go. I don't have my my aftershocks on today. I forgot to charge them over the weekend. So that's the issue. With that. Anyway, Greg, so glad to be here. So much going on. You're the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special, and you can reach us at BeTerrific TV on all social media. You can also reach us, of course, in our Slack chat, BeTerrific.com/Slack, and join the conversation. And additionally, guess what else you can do? Do you know what else you can do? You can email us. You can keep the positive feedback coming, and you can email us. That is connect@beterrific.com. I've got several calls over the weekend from you guys thanking us for great coverage. I got them to my personal cell phone, and they're from you, the Terrifics, because that cell phone number, or the office number here, gets forwarded to my cell phone. And so you guys called up, and I talked to a bunch of you guys over the weekend, and I can't thank you enough. You guys had a lot of great things to say, especially about the Back to the Future coverage of not only Back in Time, but the Shays House. And it was really awesome. But then you raved about other stuff as well. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for raving. And thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, I want to talk about a lot of stuff today. We had a wild end to our week last week. We had Brent Williams on with his son Ryan Williams, and a lot of great people. Sia and my mother was on. That was interesting. My mother was on talking about the fact that I got her hooked up with an iPad. She was learning how to use it. We showed off her apartment a little. I wore the Outbreak suit to go in there and set up her new television. That was crazy. Then we had Sia and Brent and Ryan Williams talking about the products that they're doing and the fact that they want to bring your products, your creations, your ideas to the light of day. And that Power Go-Go had a big announcement. They're going to be doing an Indiegogo soon, but they've signed a huge deal. PowerGoGo.com. That was kind of cool. And so that was a lot of fun. Over the weekend, I took in a lot of tennis. Serena Williams played. Azarenka played at the U.S. Open. Of course, Andy Murray lost. Federer won. A lot of great stuff going on. But there was one storyline that I thought a lot about this weekend, and that was Serena Williams. You know, when Serena came out, there was a lot of negative things made about her. A lot of negative publicity. A lot of people were really bullying her about her size, about that she looked like a man and all this stuff. And I really thought to myself, you know, that really wasn't fair. Here's a tremendous athlete, and I was really proud of her for what she's overcome. She's now quite possibly going to win. She faces Venus tonight. She's quite possibly going to win the first Grand Slam in 20-something years, almost 3 decades, the first Grand Slam. That means she won 4 majors in 1 year. She's done what's called the Serena Slam twice, which is winning not consecutively, but winning in the same calendar year maybe, but not in the same season, winning 4 majors. And so Serena is a tremendous tennis player. I'm not the biggest tennis fan in the world, but she's an unbelievable tennis player. And we get on her, we have, especially the media in the past, especially when she came out, about her not looking the way we wanted, not acting the way we wanted, and not fitting the mold of a female tennis player that we wanted. There are a lot that are considered beautiful. I would argue that Serena is beautiful, but I think a lot of times a lot of people make fun of her size. Her thighs are big and muscular. She trains really hard, often called a beast. I think that these things are, you know, from what I can tell, are probably really hurtful to her. There are some commercials that she's made about overcoming, and she's really trying to show young women how important it is to overcome and to not be so stuck on your image and how you look. And realistically, Serena's a beautiful woman, and she's an amazing tennis player, which is really more of the issue. And beyond that, she's been great in giving back and also fighting for women's issues and also teaching young girls. And I just really want to tip my hat to Serena Williams, and I want to say that more of us should be like Serena Williams, and in addition to that, more of us should really be more cognizant of how we treat people and athletes like Serena Williams, and not so quick to jump on her for how she looks or how she acts, and really judge her more by how she fits in society, as far as, is she a good person? Does she give back? Does she do good things? Check, check, check. Is she a good athlete? So she's good at what she does? Yes, check. Then why are we all over her? And we were. I remember 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001. Serena was the butt of a lot of jokes. And you know, in those days, Venus beat her up a lot. But it seems like she's gotten the best of Venus in the long run. We'll see what happens here tonight. It should be interesting. But the reality is this goes beyond sports. This transcends sports. This is about accepting somebody for being a little bit different, accepting them for what they're able to overcome, accepting them for what they're able to achieve. And we should be very proud of Serena Williams for overcoming all of the obstacles, all of the taunts, all of the bullying, and becoming not only a wonderful athlete, but a wonderful person, and she's very exciting to watch. I don't think that there is a more exciting tennis player, men or women right now, than Serena Williams. I love that she comes back all the time. I love that she goes down. That's what we want. We want somebody who becomes the underdog, right? She is definitely the favorite and then becomes the underdog, and then recaptures our love because she wins. And she does it most times with class, but what I like is she does it with a lot of passion and heart and a lot of beating of the chest, because, you know, when she wins, but she's very humble still. She's very humble. And I think that she has an interesting strategy to these, you know, U.S. Open games here now. She's like, oh, you know what? This doesn't matter. I won Wimbledon. That was what was important. This is just cherry on the cake. That's what she's telling herself so that she can go in there and take the pressure off herself. I think she's doing a great job. I think she's a tremendous athlete, and I'm enjoying watching her. And I think we need to be more cognizant of how we treat people when we don't understand where they come from or what they're like. She's unbelievable. They should build a building at the roof at the U.S. Open should be called the Serena Williams roof. They're building a roof there. It's not finished yet. Digital Phil is in the Slack chat. He is one of the Terrifics, as are you. He's put the logo up. You can join him, BeTerrific.com/Slack. We also, I'm going to mention something, I don't know, some email I got. And this is from a guy who says that I don't really want to get into this. I'm going to send this on to the Shays and see what they say and can report back. But he says he was involved in restoring their vehicle. And I think that that's pretty cool. The Back to the Future 3 car. I have to find I'll find his email during the break, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but just a little bit. Because I don't want to go into his whole thing, and I'll talk to the Shays off air, and if there's something that I need to bring up on air that we may or may not have overlooked, but at least we'll mention this guy's name, all right? Because he says he's put together the car and he showed pictures of restoring the car and all that. Hopefully we'll make him happy that we mentioned his name. They didn't mention his name. Maybe there's a reason for it, maybe there's not. I don't know the story, and I think I'll get into it. Greg, how you doing, by the way, Greg?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I am doing great, man. I'm all charged up today. I don't know if the Terrifics know this. We haven't said it enough. We are doing Comic-Con 2015 live from New York Comic-Con. Oh, my God, I'm excited. And the coolest part, Adam and I were talking earlier in the day, it's October 8th to 11th. Put that in your calendar, wall-to-wall coverage of Comic-Con. We're going to be adding a second spot to be able to go to. We're going to have more hosts, I believe, than just me, right? And Adam and I were talking today, the coolest part, Greg, is that a lot of the people who went last year, as far as celebrities and people we would interview, aren't going to be there this year. There's turnover because there are new shows, new movies, new comics. And so I think it's really interesting. We'll get to interview a whole new crowd of people. It's not like these other trade shows that we go to where it's the same people with new technology every year. This will be a lot of new people, a lot of new faces, and I think we're going to team up with Project Triforce. I love those guys, and we're going to do something out of their space as well, which will be awesome. I'm really looking forward to Comic-Con 2015. I think it's going to be unbelievable at the Javits Center, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a good time. I've only ever been once as a spectator.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to spend a lot of time because it was packed. And that was probably about 3 years ago. So,
yes. Yes.
I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Did you enjoy it when you went? I'm surprised you went. You don't love crowds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind crowds.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was different.
What are you into?
I'm not big into anything, really.
Has anybody ever noticed this, by the way? Digital Phil, maybe you can get on this with a GIF or something. Greg, put your shot back up for a second. Does this guy not look like Kevin Bacon, at least Kevin Bacon from The Following? Has anybody noticed that? I got to talk to Heather about that. You know, you don't think you're a great-looking guy. You say it to me all the time. You think you're just an average-looking guy. Look at that. You got the Kevin Bacon eyes right there. Those are the sad, like, weepy eyes. That's The Following. You could be his stunt double or stand-in. I'm telling you, you look exactly like Kevin Bacon. Now, give me the look like somebody just, another murder took place.
Like another murder took
yeah,
place?
another. Have you seen The Following on Fox?
I haven't seen The Following.
Okay, he's a former FBI agent who's been deputized. Okay, and that's because there's this guy who's running around with his legion of followers, and they're committing murders. So it's a serial murderer. The Following. They're following this former professor who's now in jail, and then he gets out, and blah blah blah. I'm not spoiling anything. All right, so give me those puppy dog eyes. Somebody just. No, see, you did it better before. You looked all sad. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I do things without realizing I do them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
like the Christopher Walken.
Yeah. Yeah. You should do Kevin Bacon, though. You kind of look like a young Kevin Bacon, I'm telling you.
I don't see it, but thank you.
Really?
I don't.
I brought you on to talk about your Patriots. There was a huge article in Sports Illustrated, or ESPN, I'm sorry, ESPN, the magazine, a huge article about how basically Deflategate, they were feeling, is payback for Spygate, because Spygate didn't go deep enough. And by the research of the magazine, they are saying that Spygate was a massive operation that Goodell helped cover up, that really went deep into stealing signals and signs of other teams. I was reading the article. If this is true, this is a bombshell article, and I'm not bringing it up because we don't, I'm bringing it up because I want to pay tribute to ESPN, the magazine, and their reporting, and it reminded me why we still need magazines and articles and the written word, because you can't do all that on television, really. And it just was a tremendous article. We need things like that because this is investigative journalism at its greatest, and they've interviewed former players, former NFL execs, former coaches, and former Patriots coaches who have all spilled the beans here, and basically said that we thought Spygate was like, at least I thought, I'm not going to speak for you guys, the Terrifics, I thought Spygate, and again, I'm not bringing this up to talk about negative things, to bash on the Patriots, I'm bringing this up to commend the reporting of ESPN, the magazine, and say we can never, stop doing journalism like this. And that is this. I look at this, and I thought that Spygate was, okay, they videotaped a couple of practices, they got a couple of plays, they got some walkthrough stuff, no big deal. Maybe it was the Jets. It was Eric Mangini, former coach, who made a big stink about it. Really, how big a deal is it? When you look at it, when you look at what they're presenting, ESPN, the magazine, is saying that there was an entire tape library and archive. It was a conspiracy that included probably 25 people. They would hire players from other teams, which is legal, and then cut them after finding out if the signals they were stealing were correct. They would have their own video crews wear NFL Films t-shirts and credentials. They would cover up the Patriot stuff. They would wear Kraft production shirts for Kraft's production company, all sorts of other things to not be associated with the actual Patriots. And all they were assigned to do was shoot the signals from the other team's coaches. Completely illegal. They categorized it, kept an entire library, and then had a flow chart, allegedly, according to ESPN.com, or ESPN the magazine and ESPN.com. And it was really, really robust. And that's cheating. That's really cheating. And they should have been penalized harshly for it. It talks about how Goodell helped sweep it under the rug. He was only 18 months into his tenure when this happened, and he was basically Robert Kraft's boy because Robert Kraft helped install him as the commissioner. And now this was payback because, allegedly, that Deflategate was payback because the owners, the other owners felt that this was not right and that it was all swept under the rug. If this is true, it's a bombshell investigation. It's a bombshell article, and I got to tell you something, it's completely wrong. The Patriots should never have done any of this. Bill Belichick, if it's true, should be banned from football for life, not slapped on the wrist. He should get the same punishment Pete Rose gets in baseball. And it's a really interesting article. You got to check it out, ESPN.com. It's a really, really interesting article, and it's also in ESPN, the magazine. It was written for the magazine. And it really, really shows just how widespread Spygate was, and that it was a lot deeper than I think we realized, and that was purposely done. So I think that I agree with Digital Phil. He can't stand cheaters, and there's so much BS out there. I think when there's smoke, there's fire. We always believe that there's more to the story. I've always said that I believe 100% that Tom Brady deflated those footballs. Or had them deflated. I also said this was something that's probably practiced on many teams. I've also said that it's something that the NFL can get rid of and should rid the league of. And I also said that Brady should have been let off, which he was. And the reason why is because they had no evidence. They didn't do the right things to catch Brady in the act and the team in the act. And so for that reason, there should be no punishment, because I believe fully and wholeheartedly that you need to catch somebody and have evidence to come down on them. And I don't think they did the right things to do that. But I do think that Brady cheated. I do think he's cheated for a long time. And I do think that's wrong. But without the evidence, I don't think you can convict him of the crime. And so I think that, you know, you look at Spygate, you look at Deflategate, and you say, you know what, this actually should tarnish the legacy. I think you should decide for yourself. You should read this great article on ESPN.com today and in ESPN, the magazine, and decide for yourself, but at least be educated by what they have to say and by all the people that they've interviewed. And I would say this is why we need great journalism today still. And I want to give kudos to ESPN for putting this together and doing such a great job. And this was many years and many interviews that they've put together over the years. And some of them were done for television, for Outside the Lines, and for other shows. And a lot of them were done just for this article. And I think that they're terrific. Now, the Patriots made some people available and others not available, including Bill Belichick was not available for the article. But I will tell you, it's a damning article. You definitely need to read it. And it's very, very shocking. When we come back, we got to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want to tell you what I think of this whole Matt Harvey situation with the New York Mets, because I have strong opinions about it, and I think Doc Gooden, former New York Mets pitcher and ace, and Ron Darling, SNY TV broadcaster, TBS broadcaster, a great guy. He's been on the show, and he was a former New York Mets ace. I think him and Doc and the Mets, yes, the Mets, have it all wrong, as well as the New York Post and many New York papers. I'm going to tell you who I think wrote the wrong things, why I think they wrote them, and I'm going to give you history to back it up. That is, and I'm going to tell you why what Harvey is doing is positive, and again, we should lay off this guy. We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Rode microphones are the official microphones of BeTerrific. Find out more at rodemic.com.
Welcome back to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the Michael Artsis Show on BeTerrific. You're the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special. If you miss a moment, you can catch everything on BeTerrific.com. Don't forget to go to BeTerrific.com/live to watch us live. You can catch all of our old content 24 hours a day. Our other shows like Gaming On, which comes up after this show today on Tuesday. And you can also, during the weekends, catch up with what you missed during the week. But we put everything on our site, BeTerrific.com, so you don't want to miss a thing, just go to BeTerrific.com. Of course, you can reach out to us on email, connect at BeTerrificTV, or BeTerrific.com rather, and at BeTerrificTV on all social media. And we're going to be at New York Comic Con. You're not going to want to miss a moment of that, and it's going to be super awesome. We've got a sports show that we're going to debut, a female sports show that's going to be awesome. We're going to debut in a week or two. And we're going to add more and more content to the lineup all the time. You guys are the Terrifics. You're awesome. Let me tell you, we're talking a lot of sports here today. We talked about Serena Williams. We talked about the Patriots and what I think of them in that ESPN article. And I got to tell you, I think that Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. But when I look at this article, it says, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, if I'm going to believe what this article says, he's not as good as I thought because he's being told the defensive schemes exactly at the line of scrimmage and able to change and overcome them. And I've been on the field and I've watched Tom Brady slice up defenses, standing on the field, and he makes it look too easy. Without a doubt, I've never seen anybody do it with this little effort. So it's something to look at. We don't, on BeTerrific look at negatives usually. We don't look at what this kind of thing is, but I wanted to commend the journalism from ESPN, the magazine, and ESPN.com for putting this article together. We need more stuff like that. And I also want to call attention to cheaters. And if they cheated in any way, shape, or form, they need to be called out on it, especially when there was evidence that was swept under the rug. Now, in the case of Deflategate, I thought there was no evidence, which is why I thought that Tom Brady and the Patriots should get off. In the case of Spygate, it seems like there was a lot of evidence swept under the carpet intentionally by the NFL investigators on the command of Roger Goodell, who was 18 months earlier installed basically by Robert Kraft. It's a really interesting article. You need to read it. You need to make your own determination. But I think if anything puts a black eye on the Patriots or the logo, the shield that needs to be protected, it would be this very thing, Spygate, not Deflategate, because first of all, in Deflategate, it's a widespread issue with a lot of teams, and if the NFL wants to put an end to it, they can. I've said that many times. But more importantly, they had no evidence. There was no evidence that said that these guys did this. And for whatever reason, they didn't subpoena or couldn't get his phone records, which made it more clear that they had no evidence. And that's why Judge Berman said, you know what? I'm sorry. I cannot uphold this Tom Brady suspension. You've done this basically meritless. You haven't told him why you just arbitrarily picked 4 games. Ba 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 ba. I'm sorry. He gets no games. He's back to playing football. No fine. Craziness. All right. There was another thing that bothered me over the weekend because everybody, especially the New York papers and some former New York Mets, who I really respect and like, were jumping all over Matt Harvey. Now, Matt Harvey had Tommy John surgery. When he had it, he tried to pitch longer. When he had it, he said, I'm going to come back early. Everybody said, no, no, no. You're the young ace of the New York Mets. We want you to heal properly. We want to make sure everything's right. Now, the Mets have had problems with all sorts of injuries over the years, not handling them right. The Mets staff has been terrible, their medical staff. And they've been embroiled in so many scandals, it's hard to keep track of them all. But let me remind you that earlier in the season, Terry Collins said he felt that leaving Johan Santana in to pitch a no-hitter, to complete his no-hitter, ruined Johan Santana's career. Johan Santana, in the same article to Sports Illustrated, said that was probably true, but he doesn't regret anything that happened. He is the latest in a litany of Mets who have gone down to injury, who have been pushed further than their limits, who have not been healed properly, who have been mismanaged. Scott Boras is one of the best agents in baseball. He's a super agent. And Matt Harvey and Scott Boras and Dr. James Andrews, who did the surgery for Tommy John surgery on Matt Harvey, this young, amazing stud ace who's going to be the Mets franchise player for years, said, you know what, we don't want Matt Harvey pitching more than 180 innings this year. It's his first year back from Tommy John surgery. Let's take it easy on him. Let's let him heal. But the Mets organization is only looking short term because the manager, general manager, want to keep their jobs, and the ownership want to make, as Johnny Manziel would do, tons of money, especially because the Mets have to keep refinancing and are in financial trouble clearly because of the Madoff situation still, and they're dealing with their loans and everything. Okay, that's fine. And it's fine to say, I want to make money. That is fine as well. And it's fine to say you want your baseball team to win and you want them to go far in the playoffs. But when Scott Boras and James Andrews said no more than 180 innings, and he's about 166 innings in right now, the New York papers and management of the New York Mets went nuts. How could this be? He's a hypocrite. He wanted to pitch before, and he said he'd come back early, and now he doesn't want to pitch past 180 innings. These are the same people who would write that the Mets mismanaged him, that Matt Harvey should have been limited to 180 innings, if at 181 innings he gets hurt. It's the same people who will say, oh, we should trade Matt Harvey right now because he's clearly peaked. The same people who say Matt Harvey has an attitude problem. Here's a guy who's done nothing but perform well for the New York Mets, given them everything he's gotten. And you know what? His management says, I realize that the New York Mets have screwed this up several times. We're going to step in. We're going to say 180 innings, hard limit. Let's not have him have any more. Now, you can either maybe win today and have him extend to 189, 200 innings maybe, and maybe get hurt. Maybe. It's a variable. And maybe win today. Or you can have this guy for 6 or 7 years, be a prolific pitcher for the New York Mets, the face of the franchise, filling seats. You can have short-term gain today, or you can have long-term gain just by shutting him down. What do the Mets want to do? Of course, they want short-term gain. What do the fans want? Of course they want short-term gain, and I understand that. What do the papers want? Oh, the papers just clearly Ken David off of the New York Post. I cannot believe you wrote this article. They clearly just want to be as sartorial as possible and as undiplomatic and as hypocritical as possible. And they literally, shame on you, Ken Davidoff, just want to literally say something negative at every single turn, looking to say something negative. Instead of looking at it and go, wow, the guy's agent actually wants to look after his career. It's not about the money he could make in the future. Well, maybe for the agent it is, but it's actually for the guy's longevity, for you as a fan to be able to watch him longer, for him to be able to perform longer. His doctor says shut him down, but oh, the Mets say let's have him pitch because we're doing really good and we want him. And then Harvey says, I'll pitch in the playoffs. I'll pitch in the playoffs, but shut me down now. And, oh, the papers kind of ease up a little. And, oh, the Mets kind of ease up a little. Well, first of all, that should have been cleared up in the very beginning. But I got to tell you something. I love that Matt Harvey went to the Players Tribune, Jeter's site, to directly tell fans what he's thinking. I love that, number one. Number two, I love that he stepped out and said, it's my doctor and my agent who are going to handle this. I love that. He took himself out of the middle. Number three, this should have never been public. It should have been all taken care of behind the scenes. Number four, why is Doc Gooden advising anybody on their career? He's the last person that should be doing that. What about Ronnie Darling? Ron, come on. I'm not going to sit here and argue that guys were tougher in 1986, and I'm not going to sit here and argue that in the 1930s and 40s, Babe Ruth could pitch a complete game back-to-back days and then hit home runs. And I'm not going to sit here and argue that guys threw forever, even before that. Okay? The game changes. The way we treat players changes. The medical changes. But I can tell you that the Mets have only screwed up, historically, medical issues with players. They've only hurt players. They've only ended careers. And if Scott Boras, the super agent, and the doctor, Dr. James Andrews, who is very well respected, who, by the way, said, if you remember, let's not put Robert Griffin III on a football field right now, and Mike Shanahan and Robert Griffin and Dan Snyder and the Redskins organization disregard that, put him into a playoff game, got him hurt. Andrew still said, I don't think this guy should go back out. They put him back out, and his career's never been the same. Now, I don't know if Robert Griffin III would have been okay today, but he's on the verge of being cut by the Redskins. He's become the second stringer already. But yet, let's take our ace, Matt Harvey. Let's disregard what Dr. James Andrews, probably the best doctor to ever do knee and elbow and shoulder surgery for pitchers and athletes, or the most well-known certainly, and says, you know what, shut him down at 180. Let's take what he says and completely disregard that so that maybe we can win a playoff game or 2 or 5 or even the World Series and have a short-term gain. Or we can win enough games that we can trade this guy because he's at his peak. I think it's foolhardy. I think it's short-sighted. I think it's exactly what the Mets normally do and what they shouldn't do. But the fact that they ran to the papers and complained, and the fact that the papers bit on that instead of saying, wow, here's a guy who's saying, you know what, I'm not going to be like every Met in the past. I'm not going to go down to these injuries. I'm going to listen to what my doctor and what my agent is telling me. I'm going to get better. I'm going to make sure I'm better, and I'm going to come back better and better than ever before, and be healthy going forward. Now, there's no guarantee he'll be healthy going forward. There's no guarantee he won't re-hurt the arm, but you have to put a guy in a position to do the best he can. Now, do I think that maybe he could take a little rest at 180 and then pitch in the playoffs? I absolutely do. But that's not up for me to decide. That's up for Dr. James Andrews to decide. And I believe in guys being tough as nails. But that doesn't always work, and we've seen it time and time again not work. So let's follow what the doctor says. Let's err on the side of caution, and let's have a Mets franchise pitcher that can lead this team for years to come with a young pitching staff and an aging veteran in David Wright who can maybe play another 3 or 4 years at a high level, and maybe we can actually win a World Series, and not just 1, 2, or 3, or at least be competitive for the next 5 years, as opposed to let's try and win it all this year, which as much as I'm a Mets fan, as much as I want to believe, come on. There's a lot of great baseball teams out there, and it's a long shot at best. It's not that it can't happen. But look at the situation and look at it from a business standpoint. You're going to make a lot more money filling seats for 5 years than you are winning a World Series or getting to it this year. So think about that. And again, I like Ken Davidoff. I've worked with him at the New York Post. I think he's a great guy. I think Chris Shaw, who's the editor of the sports department, is a great guy. I think that Mike Vaccaro, who also wrote a questionable article, who I love and have a great relationship with, and I love his articles, calling Matt Harvey a hypocrite, is a great guy. But I think you guys need to look in the mirror and say, what are we doing as journalists? Do we have to write something sensational every day? Do we have to stir problems every single day? Do we have to go dig up Ron Darling and Doc Gooden every day so that we can have negative articles in the paper so people will buy the paper? We are proving here at BeTerrific you don't have to go negative. People want positive content. We have the Terrifics. It's an army of people who are proving that good content is wanted and needed. And let me tell you something. The article should have been written. Matt Harvey, his doctor, and his agent are looking out for not only his best interest, not only the dollars he could make in the future, but the Mets' best interest. The Mets is what I should call them. The Mets' best interest as well for the long-term viability of the franchise. Without a doubt. How many Matt Harvey jerseys are you going to sell when he doesn't play another game if he gets injured again and hurts that arm? How many? But how many are you going to sell over 5 years when he's your stud ace and take you to the playoffs every year and leading the charge? And what kind of message do you think it sends to the rest of the players? Now, this isn't a hangnail. This isn't a guy who's not tough enough. This is a guy who had Tommy John surgery on his pitching arm, came back and has pitched 166 innings and bled for you and had a great season. Some downs, but mostly ups. And the Mets are doing great, and I love that. But you got to be kidding me to write this article, to stir all this controversy, to sell a couple of papers. And for the Mets, shame on you. Just to save a job at Terry Collins or Sandy Alderson, or make some more money for the Wilpons, who do just fine, even with the financial trouble. Fresh Meadow Country Club, S600 Mercedes, wine and dine wherever you go. Nothing wrong with capitalism. Nothing wrong with making money. But think about what you're doing here. Think about what you've done in the past. Think about it. Think long and hard. Look at all these guys you've sent down the road of being injured and badly injured and career-ending injuries. All because you wanted to squeeze another 16 or 14 innings out of them, or 20 innings, or even if it's another 40 innings out of them. Yes, you might need it down the stretch, I get it, but you're going to mortgage the future to win today. And sometimes that makes a lot of sense. If Matt Harvey was 38 years old, you might do that. If Matt Harvey was trade bait at 35 years old, you might do it. I didn't like the Tony Amonte for Glenn Anderson trade. Glenn Anderson scores a pivotal goal for the 1994 New York Rangers in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Rangers mortgaged the future in Tony Amonte, who went on to be an amazing player, for a guy who was a sure thing for the playoffs. Okay. I didn't like the trade. I accepted it, and it worked out fine. This is not that case. This is a guy who should be babied at this point to make sure that he has long-term success. This isn't Jabba Chamberlain, oh, we're going to limit his innings because we don't want to blah, 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 and then you wind up screwing with his head and he's never the same. Different situation. This is a guy who knows what he's doing, who's clearly got the stuff, but you got to take care of that arm. That arm is the only thing. That is it. Come on, Mets. Don't stand for my entire team sucks. Stand for Mets. Let's go, Mets. Let's go, Mets. You got to believe. Stand for all that stuff. Stand for the positivity. Stand for the 86, the ruckus that Shea Stadium was. Stand for the excitement. Don't stand for taking a guy and having him go out and throw out that arm. And then he's Johan Santana. Or any of the other guys who have gone through the system and been churned through the mill. It doesn't make sense. And for the New York papers to come down hard on Matt Harvey. You want to come down on Matt Harvey? How about the fact, which you did do this, that he went to a Ranger game when the Mets were playing, and it was a Ranger playoff game. Now, he wasn't pitching, but I still think you did the right thing and that he needed you to come down on him. I think the attitude's a little askew, and he should be at the stadium with his boys. That's my feeling. Maybe that's old school. That's something to come down on Matt Harvey for. Not because his doctor says shut him down, or his agent, because they're looking not only at his long-term health for him, but also for the Mets. So yeah, let's trade the best player on the team, the ace, the guy who is your stud ace, who's going to be the future of the Mets, as both Ken Davidoff and Mike Vaccaro wrote. Let's trade him because he's at his peak, and clearly he doesn't really want to pitch. So the guy you're dying to have pitch 200 innings, but only wants to go 180 on doctor's orders, let's trade him because he can't be worth anything in the future if he's not going to pitch now. How about that, Rant Terrifics? I had to get that off my chest. I wanted to point out I think Matt Harvey and his doctors are doing the right thing. And sometimes in sports we have to make hard decisions. Sometimes they're business decisions, and sometimes they're really positive. We're paying attention to the health of an athlete for once. For once, we're starting to pay attention to the health of athletes instead of the betterment of the team. Because in reality, the health of the athlete and the health of their life is more important than any one game or than any championship. And you know what else? The health today helps the team down the road. Just think about it. We all play through injuries, and I'm not saying we shouldn't. I love that idea. But there are people like my wife, Jill, who point out, you know what? Maybe it's not that smart to play through injuries. You know why? Because you're only hurting yourself, and you're only in the long term hurting the team. So if you can play through an injury, you do. But if you can't, don't. Pay attention to it. And that's the positivity. We're shutting guys down, and you're not a wussy or anything else for being shut down. You're a guy who just physically right now doesn't have the capability. On that note, let's all go on Twitter again, and we'll wish JPP, who returned to the Giants this weekend, well. Let's send him some positive vibes. Okay, the guy, remember, made a very grave mistake that has threatened his career, but let's send him some more positive vibes with the hashtag BeTerrificTV. Hashtag BeTerrificTV. Send him some positive vibes. Jason Pierre-Paul, he needs it now. He's on his way back, and this is another positive thing we can do. All right, we're going to take, and by the way, I think the Giants have handled this situation as beautifully, as elegantly as anybody could, especially when JPP wouldn't come in, wouldn't be taken care of by the family, wouldn't even talk to them. They handled it well. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to have a whole lot more show on this fun Tuesday. I almost said Monday, but it's Tuesday. It feels like a Monday. Mondays like this are awesome because there are only 3 more days to the week, and then it's the weekend. All right. And maybe we'll talk some Revs. I don't know. Did Frank Oley even leave the torch for me, Greg? We got to find that out. We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this. You're the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special. Don't go anywhere.
Rode microphones are the official microphones of BeTerrific. Find out more at rodemic.com.
Welcome back to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. You are the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special at BeTerrific TV on all social media and /BeTerrific TV on Facebook, on YouTube. Our archives all go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/BeTerrificTV. And of course, you can watch everything on our site as well, BeTerrific.com. That's where we want you to watch it. And you can also go to BeTerrific.com/live for our 24-hour live stream. Of course, you've got the Michael Artsis Show Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. And we also have Gaming On Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. And so TJ will be up next with Gaming On. That should be fun. Greg, are you doing Gaming On with him today? I think you should. You guys do good together.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I gotta switch, but yeah, no, I like doing the show with TJ. It's pretty
fun, right?
Yeah.
So one of the Terrifics, Poon, mentioned that he thought, look, you can't trust Scott Boras. He hasn't seen Dr. Andrews say anything publicly, but I read that Dr. Andrews, and this was in the New York Post articles that I mentioned, that Dr. Andrews said shut him down. You can't trust Boras. I agree with that. Boras is a super agent only interested in one thing, his longevity and his money and his ability to earn money. But what I wrote back is, yes, I agree you can't trust Boras, and I wouldn't want to be negotiating against Boras. And I don't think that he's a great agent. He's a super agent, but he's not the agent that I would want representing me probably. But I think that Boras, because he's only interested in two things, the longevity and the money, or the money and then the longevity, because you get more money that way, that the Mets want the same things. They want longevity. And because of that, they should be happy with what Boras is setting forward, and they should want Harvey to kind of shut it down. Now, Poon points out that's why they're skipping his starts. Yes, but it took all weekend to get there. And he says, well, don't moan when Terry Collins takes you out of a game to save innings earlier in the season. And that's why the Post wrote that he was a hypocrite. That's the other reason, because he would moan when he was taken out of games. Fine, you can moan, you can be upset. You're still being taken out of games early. And you know what? You should be upset. You should want to go. But it's the manager's job to manage your innings and say, you know what, we're ahead 5 runs. Or you know what, we're down 5 runs. So we don't really need you at this point, and I can save innings for when I do need you. Or whatever the situation is, I'm taking you out to conserve innings. That is fine. That's the manager's job. He should be conserving innings. And it should be the player should want to play. All Matt Harvey should ever want to do is play. In fact, Matt Harvey should want to go 200 innings right now. But he should heed the advice of his doctor. More than his agent, his doctor. And he should be careful. And that's what he's doing. Oh, Poon just wrote this whole long thing that I have to read. Okay. But it's widely been known for quite some time that the club had established parameters. I don't care what the club established. Is the club a doctor? Has the club done anything right, Poon, ever with athletes and their medical treatment? This particular club, had they ever done anything right? Ever with athletes and their medical? Well, I guess some athletes, because the Mets have athletes that have performed well and have played well and have been injured and come back. But they have a terrible history of not taking care of their players. So they set the parameters of 185 to 195 innings for Harvey before the season. It did not include postseason innings. The Mets may be fortunate enough that Harvey is still healthy enough and strong enough to proceed. So where has Boras been all himself to inject himself into the fray when his client's at 166 innings and say, hold on, you can't go more, even though there were starts skipped and all that stuff, and he's establishing a cap now. I'm not saying that the timing is right. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying, I'm not saying that Boras handled it right, okay? All I'm saying is that if the doctor is saying shut it down, the Mets should heed that advice, and so should Harvey, and they should shut it down. I don't like it any more than any other Mets fan likes it. I don't like it any more than when a doctor tells me to stop doing things. But you know what? If a doctor tells me the next time I eat bacon, I'm going to drop dead, I'm not eating bacon anymore because I want to live. And so if a doctor told me that I had to take a week off so that my voice would be okay so we could do Comic-Con, you guys wouldn't see me for a week. I'd have Greg do the show, or somebody else would do the show. I'd tweet, I'd text, maybe I'd do a Periscope once a day. What's up, Periscopers? Hey, Jenny, get in the Slack chat, please. I would do what I had to do because it would be better for everybody in the long run. Do I want somebody to say, stop doing this for a week? No, I don't want anybody to say, stop doing this for a week. You guys love it. I got 5 calls. 5 calls. These viewers went on the website, they found the office number, and they called, and they wanted to talk to me for hours. Now, okay, we have a lot of terrifics out there. 5 isn't that much, but we still had 5 calls this weekend. Nobody picks up the phone anymore. We get flooded with email, we get tweets, we get all this other stuff. I got 5 phone calls of people who wanted to talk about how great the content is. Do you think I want to stop that train and say, hold on? No, but if a doctor said, hey, your throat's hurting you, it's bad, you have to take a week off, or 2 weeks off, or 3 weeks off, I would do it. And even if I had to miss Comic-Con, I would be there, I'd support the team, but I would do what I had to do so that BeTerrific could be here 3 years from now, or 5, or I could be here for BeTerrific, right? I'm not the only one here, right? And I'm not gonna be the only one. But you get what I'm saying? I don't want to be taken out either. I get it. I played sports my whole life. I never wanted to be taken out. I don't know why the situation changed or why they came up with this. It's certainly not about more money. You can't think that Boris is saying, okay, shut him down at 180 innings unless you sign a new deal now and extend his contract. You don't think that's what's happening. Because if that's what's happening, then the Mets should say that. Because then they're being extorted. And I think that the whole thing should be done behind closed doors unless Scott Boras is trying to extort the Mets. So if Scott Boras is trying to extort them and say, listen, he doesn't go past 180 unless you cough up a new contract or extend his contract, then I think the Mets go public with that. That's extortion. That actually should be, they should contact the FBI, and Boras should never be able to do that. But who knows what, maybe he was examined by, you know, these players, and I know a lot of athletes will do stuff quietly without the team knowing it. Maybe he got on a plane on an off day or whatever, and he somehow met with Andrews, and Andrews said, you know what, your arm, let's take it easy. Who knows what the case is? All I know is maybe the timing could have been better, but the doctor says 180, that's it. Shut it down. Shut it down. You're in a good position to shut it down, by the way. You're in a really good position to shut it down. That's all. Don't quit. Yeah, you want to talk to the doctor, talk to the doctor. And don't put the player in the middle. He doesn't want to go more than he clearly wants to go. He doesn't even want to come out of the games he comes out of. He wanted to pitch with Tommy John. He needed Tommy John surgery, remember? He wanted to pitch. He was like, oh, and I'm not going to get surgery so I can come back earlier. And then he was like, I'll come back earlier from the surgery. All this stuff everybody forgets. But now they go, oh, he doesn't want to pitch. Matt Harvey's a hypocrite. It's not a hypocrite. It's not him making the decision. It's a doctor and an agent saying, shut this guy down. And by the way, they're the ones who should worry about his career, not him. He should go out there and just want to throw hard. And the manager, it's the manager's responsibility to manage his innings. Maybe he should have had him pitch a couple less innings. You'd have some innings left in him. I don't know. 180 innings doesn't seem like a whole lot of innings, by the way. I would say it doesn't seem like a lot of innings. Okay. Neither does 100 pitches on a pitch count. But they've discovered that this is the way it should go. That this is the way it should be. And so, yes, all of a sudden, okay, that stinks. And maybe it's late for the Mets to be able to make a trade, or a little late for them to claim somebody off waivers or to bring somebody up, or all this stuff. And I don't even know. I'm not even getting into those specifics right now. I haven't done any research on any of that. I think they could still claim somebody off waivers. I think they could still bring somebody up. Trade, no. Okay, fine. So maybe it's a little late. Maybe it's inconvenient. But move on. Things happen. It's better that he's healthy and you're stopping him at 180 than he's injured or re-injured, and then you can't trade the guy and you have no ace. Maybe they're saying he can perform in the postseason, which is what it seems like. The latest thing was, let's shut him down now, let's let him play in the postseason. Okay. So now focus on getting to the postseason instead of all this negativity, and get him ready for the postseason, and hope that he doesn't do damage by going another 20 innings in the postseason or another 40 innings. He could go, if you think about it, he could pitch game 1 of the division series. Then he could pitch game 1 and 4 of the NLCS. So that could be 27 innings right there. And then he could throw, if they go to the World Series, he could throw another 2 games of 9-inning baseball. Maybe sprinkle in, let's say he goes in game 2 and 5. He might come in game 7 for relief effort. You could see this guy facing somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 50 innings. You could absolutely see it in the postseason. So I would hope that another 45 or 50 innings wouldn't hurt him again, longevity. Maybe at that point you say the risk is worth the reward. Maybe the doctor says it. Maybe the agent says it. I don't know. I'd be very careful with this guy. But certainly you're not at the World Series yet. You're not in the playoffs yet to even discuss this, right? Like to make this a big thing. Let's shut him down for the regular season. If there's a game you really need, you shut him down now, you got a game you really need him for. You still got 9 innings in him, by the way. You still have 9 innings. You have more. You have buffer right now. Shut him down now. Boom. You need him late in the season to make the playoffs. You got 9+ innings. You got it. It's right there. And you think if he goes 181, they're going to have a hard time? No. They want him to stop at 180. 181, I'm sure they'd be fine with. 185, 190, they won't be happy with. 195, they won't be happy with. 200. So, you know, I know you're a fan, Poon. I get it. And you think the timing is terrible, and you're looking at it only from one vantage point. Look at it as the big picture. Look at it as if you are the owner of the Mets. Do you want this guy for the rest of the year, or do you want him for the rest of his career? Do you want to sell jerseys off his back? Do you want to go to the playoffs several times, or do you want once? You want once or many times? Look at it from a human standpoint. Look at it from a business standpoint. Look at it from every standpoint other than I want to win right now. And I'm a fan, and I want to win, and I have to win. And you will see that stopping him when the doctor says stop might be the best solution. That's what I think. If you can find somewhere that said about Dr. James Andrew, you're fine. Fine. I will find it for you. I will put it up in the Slack chat, and I will find it where Dr. Andrew says 180 is the limit. Okay? I will find it. I'm not going to do it now because I'm doing a show, but I will find it for you, just like I put up that ESPN article for Digital Phil, which I thought was a great article. Okay, guys, great show today. I think we got everybody revved up. We talked a lot of great stuff. You guys were engaged. Greg, are you having fun back there? That's the question. I'm sorry, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Why
wouldn't I be having fun?
Well, because you're not on air today that much.
Well, that's okay.
The last week and a half, you haven't been on that much. We've been doing so much stuff, maybe 2 weeks.
I know. It's good. It's good.
We've been doing good shows.
When I'm not around, that's a good thing, because then that means we have lots of stuff going on that is way more important than I am.
Oh, that's not true. See, this is the thing. You're fun. You add to the show. We have a good dialogue. You're not the biggest sports guy in the world, right?
Yeah, maybe I can change that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe you can change that.
Maybe I can change that. Maybe I'll start following ESPN and watch a lot of Sports Center.
Well, I mean, we do all sorts of stuff. We do tech, we do sports, we do entertainment, we do everything. So, you don't have to know everything.
I'm falling behind on tech, too.
Yeah, you are, huh?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so there are 2 things I wanted to talk about. One is, number one, I'm really excited. Stephen Colbert show is starting tonight. The new late show.
It starts tonight?
The show starts tonight. It was the late show with David Letterman, and it's now the late show with Stephen Colbert. And I got a chance to meet him a couple weeks ago. It was super cool. I'm very excited for this show.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that then.
I'm going to be watching.
I didn't know that was tonight.
It's tonight. So I'm looking forward to seeing the set. I saw the set. I was on the set. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person, in all its glory on television. Hopefully we'll get to go one day.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And we can talk about it on the show. They're using Cineo lights. They're doing this amazing thing. I guess I can tell you now. I was like, don't say anything. Now the cat's out of the bag, right? They basically, so the way it worked there is they had to rip out all the asbestos, because apparently there was a lot of asbestos back there. They also had to reconfigure the whole place. It hadn't been redone in so many years. He also, it's like a cathedral. It's beautiful in there. And Letterman had it all covered with skywalks and all this stuff and catwalks and all these lighting grids. And Colbert ripped all that out, said it needs to be open. It needs to be the cathedral of Colbert. And it looks amazing. And he went with our friends from Cineo Lighting, this great company, and their new LED lights. There are 23 of them across the ring above the, kind of above the audience, but they're on like the balcony, right? The front of the balcony. And not that they're not using other lights around, mostly LEDs, but these are, give him the ability, basically light the whole set and give him the ability to get rid of those lighting grids that came down, like pretty low. And now the whole thing is opened up, and it's really amazing. They've redone the set completely. They spent a ton of dough doing this. And he was involved every step of the way. They've got all these video screens. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, and it's really awesome. And when I met him for the first time, he was really cool. It was a lot of fun. We joked around a little.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait because I enjoyed him on The Daily Show, which admittedly I didn't watch a whole lot of, but when I did, he was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
So, I'm excited. Well, I liked him when he had the Colbert Report, but what's nice about this is he gets to be himself instead of being this character.
The
So he
character,
can go
yeah.
kind of in and out of the character.
Right.
The other thing is, what about this new Intel processor? This thing sounds amazing. The Sky something?
the Skylake, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's fairly impressive, I guess. I haven't taken a look at the specs, to be honest, but from what I understand, it's a step up, and but I think I'm probably gonna wait to upgrade until they come out with the Extreme.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's going to be like January.
Probably. I don't know. I've been hearing some rumors or some stuff on the internets that are saying they've actually pushed back the release of those.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit more reading about that.
And then you're just gonna jump on it. You're not even gonna wait.
Oh no! As soon as it's out, done.
Boom.
Get
Wow. All right, we'll have to hear more about that as it's ready. Tomorrow's a big day. I was thinking about this real quick. I mean, I imagine tomorrow we'll watch the Apple thing. It's 1 p.m., I believe, Eastern time. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Should we periscope our reaction? Should I just be live, or should I do a special show where I'm live here sitting and watching it and talking about my reaction?
Why not do both?
Why not do both? All right, so we're going to do both tomorrow. We'll have a special 1 p.m. broadcast from the studio. In addition to that, and hopefully it'll go an hour, we'll have the regular show at 4 p.m. Now, I will tell you this. I think that, in my mind, they're just going to come out with a new phone, a new iPad, a new Apple TV. All will be minor changes. The iPad will be an iPad Pro. Hopefully it comes out with USB, because otherwise I think it's going to be useless. You got to be able to, if it's a Pro, get files on and off. But I'm excited about what that could be, especially with Live to Air Teradix app. It could make that amazing. Then you've got maybe the new Watch OS, which I hope would come out. Hopefully they don't announce a new watch yet. I was actually thinking about that a lot this morning. I hope the bands stay the same for a while, the way you put the bands on and stuff. And hopefully they keep the watch for like an extra year, although I don't think they will. But the watch isn't due till like January, I guess, for a refresh. The iPad, they might go with a whole new lineup. It'll be really interesting. I'm hoping that the new Apple TV will allow us to stream directly, to create an app and stream directly to the Apple TV.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just renewed our app developer kit today, by the way. So you can go to the iTunes store and get the BeTerrific app, app.beterrific.com. But I'm excited. No big predictions. I guess my big thing is they're going to just have a 6 Plus S. Although I don't know that it'll be a better camera, of course. They're saying they're going to make it stronger, maybe heavier, all this stuff. It'll be interesting to see. Heavier, stronger, I don't think it needs, but heavier and stronger, I'm kind of out. I don't want it. And I know a lot of people I've been talking to are like, no, heavier, no way. Better battery life is always a plus. So we'll see. iOS 9 is great. I've been using it for months now. Not working that great on my phone. It is a beta. Hopefully it's not one of those situations which I feel Apple does every year where they make it not work on the last phone, so you kind of are forced to upgrade. But hopefully it comes out soon. I imagine a couple of weeks we'll have the phones, the iOS 9, the OS 2 on the watch, and the iPad Pro and Apple TV, whatever they're calling it, which will be super cool. Gaming, they're saying. So it'll be really interesting to see, and if there are any other surprises, that'll be cool as well. By the way, just to tell the extender who's probably back from vacation today, I do not love Apple Music. I still can't love it, and I think I'm going to turn it off. I'll keep you posted on that. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. TJ and Gaming On are up next. I'm Michael Artsis. You're the Terrifics. Thanks so much for watching. You make BeTerrific special. Check out the revs, man. You got to get them. Target.com or wowwe.com. You see the commercials here. You've seen us play with them. We'll play with them more as the week goes on. And I got to give a lot of love to Bill and Patrick Shea, who are amazing and let us come up and do the DeLorean stuff. You guys are raving about it, and it was all them for letting us come up. Thank you so much. I think the best comment was, a guy named Brad says to me, you ask the crew, any questions that you guys have? And the crew goes, that'd be you, Greg, and Adam. I think it was Adam who actually made this comment. Nope, I think you pretty much thought of everything. And he goes, that's how I felt. And then, of course, Brad goes, he's one of the Terrifics. And he goes, I've got one question for you. And he asked the question. And honestly, I don't know the answer to it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But guys, you're awesome. You're the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special. Greg did a great job today. Adam did a great job. We'll be at Comic-Con the 8th to the 11th of October, and we're going to be live, wall-to-wall coverage. Until tomorrow, next time. 1 p.m. tomorrow, special edition, 1 p.m. Eastern, and of course 4 p.m. Eastern as well. Until tomorrow. Oh, we've got 2 guests in studio tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until tomorrow, be terrific.